Hello, good morning to all of you. In this lecture, we will begin with second unit from your paper number 11 in the semester 5, that is UV visible spectroscopy. So, in this unit, we will discuss interaction of this UV visible radiation from the electromagnetic spectrum with the matter, and we will sort out information regarding the unsaturation characteristic present in the various organic molecules. So this UV visible spectroscopy is also known as electronic spectroscopy because most of the time these radiations, when interact with matter, they excite electrons from lower energy ground state to the higher energy excited state, and ultimately they give us information regarding the bonding associated with this unknown molecule, and we may infer some sort of information regarding the unsaturation characteristic. In addition to this spectroscopic method is utilized for a number of applications, such as one can determine quantitatively and qualitatively various components associated with the unknown samples. Moreover, this spectroscopy is utilized in order to distinguish the nature of bonding and ultimately cis and trans type of isomerism present in the unsaturated compounds. So, this particular spectroscopic technique begin with our UV visible light. So, these two components of electromagnetic radiation, they are having characteristic wavelength, and wavelength is ranged from 100 nanometer up to 800 nanometer. So for the purpose of our benefit or for our understanding, we may infer this UV range in the 0 to 100 nanometer, which is called as vacuum UV, and 100 to 200 nanometer is called as UV, mid UV, while 200 to 400 nanometer region in the UV light, you call it as near UV. Okay, so 400 to 800 nanometer region is the visible region. So what happens in this visible region? This region is only visible to the naked eyes of our human beings. So this visible light, when interact with the matter, we know that there is a formation of 7 colors. So it is called as spectrum. So 7 colors that are seen from these objects, they are natural rainbow colors, we can say. So when there is a outside raining, and when there is a sunlight irradiated on such kinds of water droplets, so water droplet act as a prism here, and from this water droplet diffraction of light may occur, and this visible light is scattered in different wavelengths, and these different wavelength regions, they are having a characteristic 7 colors, that is VBGR, that is visible, then you can say green, indigo, orange, violet and red finally. So this particular 7 color spectrum is giving characteristic indication to the molecules and ultimate color which are associated with these various sorts of salts, solutions, pigments and dyes. Okay, so in addition to this particular study, we may infer from this study, that is UV visible spectroscopy, we can obtain so many kinds of information regarding the color, its color intensity, and so various sorts of colors depending upon their wavelengths, isn't it? So here we will only begin with these two regions, that is 200 to 400 nanometer region, which is called as UV, and 400 to 800 nanometer region is called as visible. So as these two types of radiations are used from electromagnetic spectrum, we call this spectroscopic technique as a UV visible spectroscopy. So basic principle involved in this spectroscopy is that when these radiation interact, they excite electrons from the molecule in the ground state to higher energy excited state. So that will decide and ultimately gives us information regarding the molecules and number of electrons and their bonding associated with various unknown molecules. So in this spectroscopy, we will study various parameters regarding this UV visible light and its interaction, isn't it? So basically we will deal this particular chapter in series of subunits. So basically this UV visible spectroscopy we will discuss first, that is Beer-Lambert's law. After that we will discuss various sorts of terms that are coming across with this spectroscopy, that is terms used in UV visible spectroscopy. Then we will deal with effect of conjugation on the absorption bands. Afterwards we will discuss Woodward's and Fisher's rule for calculating the lambda max of diene system as well as enone system. And lastly we will deal with applications of this UV visible spectroscopy. So now we will discuss phenomena of light absorption. So in this phenomena, when we interact UV visible light with the absorbing solution or analyte we can say, so what sort of changes they are taking place? In this particular intensity of incident radiation, we will see, so when there is some sort of reflection, meaning that when molecule does not absorb any kind of light and it emit as it is, then it is said to be a reflection. On the other hand, when there is no any absorption species inside the analyte, what happens? Intensity of incident light is transmitted as it is. So we can say it is 100% transmission, 0% absorption. Now when this intensity is changed to somewhat extent and ultimately wavelength of incident radiation is changed, then phenomena is called as diffraction. So what happens in the diffraction? Atoms or molecules inside the solution, they may deviate light intensity from original path and they leads to the diffraction phenomena. So when UV visible light is made incident on the matter, so many kinds of phenomena they may take place. So light is either reflected, it may be diffracted, it may be transmitted, or we can say it may be absorbed. So in this context, UV visible spectroscopy, we may call it as a absorption spectroscopy. When molecule absorbs some sort of UV visible light and then it transmits least of the light or remaining light. So this particular quantitative relationship between light absorption and its intensity is inferred with the help of a very famous law which is called as Beer-Lambert's law. So this law tells us about what is the concentration of the analyte, what is the intensity of light, and what sort of cuvette that you have taken for the measurement. So in this sense we may have to deal with two aspects, that is one is Beer's law and second one is the Lambert's law. So when these two laws are combined specifically, we may get Beer-Lambert's law, isn't it? So what happens in this law, we will discuss one by one along with its statement and their interrelationship. Okay, and this we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.